I think from now on, it's not others. It's Mr. Turner and all of these wonderful people.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
But there was, and there was in the, one of the things I read, it said, the verdict of guilty was announced at high noon. And as all the jurors were saying guilty, 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 all the church bells were ringing. And I thought, oh, that's a first act finale. And by God, it is a first act finale. So I carried it with me for a long time. And I didn't know it was going to be musical. And then the last night at Ballyhoo happened, and Howard Prince and I, Howard Prince was the ultimate director of the last half of the 20th century, asked me why the German Jews in Atlanta were so uptight about being Jewish. And I said, well, I think it's the way of the Frank case. And he said, yeah, I know about that, but what was it exactly? So I told him, he put his glasses on top of his head. He said, that's a musical. I thought, okay. And he picks up the phone. He says, Steve, how about we talk about doing a musical with his friend Steve Sondheim? And Steve said, okay. So I thought, good Lord. And then Steve Sondheim said, which I understood he was doing this show called Passion. He said, I can't do another one. So Al said, Al was always very perky about everything. He said, oh, don't worry about it, because I know somebody that can do it. My daughter Daisy has written a show, has directed a show rather, written by this young guy, and he's wonderful, and he's going to do it. And I thought, yeah, that's great. I go from Stephen Sondheim to Daisy's friend, and brings Jason in, who was younger than my children, and Jason's nodding his head. And Jason said he would have done something with Hal and me if it was about vacuum cleaner sales, when he would have done anything. But I saw his show, which was very good. And then we talked for about 6 months. And I told him about growing up in Atlanta and what things were and how I felt, and how every time I flew home when I could see the red clay hills, it made me feel good. And he really listened. I don't think Jason had ever been to the South except to like fly over to go to Miami. Maybe. But he called me about 6 months later and he said, I got something for you to hear. And I went to his little apartment, and it was snowing, and played me the first 2 songs. And he played me the Old Red Hills of Home and the Streetcar Song. And I'm not a crier, but I started crying because he was so bright. And he was on sabbatical all this time. And I called up Al and said, and he said, and we proceeded to do it. We did several workshops, and I realized that it was going to be what Hal Prince wanted it to be, because that's what it was. And Hal was a wonderful direction. And we did it. We never went out of town with it. We opened in Lincoln Center, which was really a great, huge theater. And it wasn't exactly a show I wanted, but it's pretty damn good. We got just killed by the reviewers a lot. The producers who were going to take it over pulled out, and we didn't last. And that was sort of it, except it was being done by schools after that. Schools that did Assassins, but then do Parade, those kind of shows. And about 10 years later, Rob Ashford, who had been an assistant choreographer for the Lincoln Center show, was working at the Donmar in London. And they said, what would you like to do? He said, I'd like to do Parade. So Jason and I went to London. We realized that was a big production like the one we have now. This was tiny. This was 15 actors and 9 pieces, 9 orchestra. And we did a lot of rewriting because we never had a chance to do that. And we had 10 years to think about it. And we took out some stuff and put in some stuff and put in the character. We did it in London, and it was very well received. And then it was done in Los Angeles. been done all over the place. And then comes 15 years later, more parade. And we had done there was a reading of it right before the pandemic, Ben and Michaela, and it was good. And I didn't think about it anymore. And all this happened. And it's a wonderful production. And the timing, unfortunately, was good because the times caught up with the material. What was just sort of, I don't want to think about that during 25 years ago, during the Clinton administration, is now vibrant and occurring. And I don't know if that's good or bad, but it was certainly good for me.
Well, as an audience member, it is such an incredible intersection of racism, anti-Semitism, with this incredible love story, sort of all working together. I know that I was very much aware of Parade the first time it came out. I had done Ballyhoo, and so wherever Alfred went, I went to see what he was doing. But what was your, Max, awareness of the show, the music? As we were talking before we started recording that you were a musical theater major who went through a conservatory program. Was that a cast recording that was near and dear to your heart?
Oh yeah, yeah. So Jason's music came to me first through, the telephone line of theater camp kids that say, listen to these albums, listen to Songs from New World, Last 5 Years, and Parade. And Leo's song, It's Hard to Speak My Heart, was actually one of the first songs I sang with my voice teacher when I was learning how to sing in general. So this score and this music has been with me for my whole life. And yeah, my senior year in college, my like big scene that I did was All the Wasted Time. It was Leo and Lucille and All the Wasted Time. And so this show it's iconic to me, and it feels very much like a big part of the American musical theater canon, and it's just an honor to be in this production and to follow that line that has taken me here. Yeah.
Well, I think about like Sunday in the Park with George, Parade. I mean, when we think about the canon, as it were, and shows that are speaking to generations and generations of musical theater lovers, like that you have been in both of those productions that started at Encores. Alfred modestly before we started talking was like, I didn't know that it would have a run on Broadway after this.
Oh, I didn't.
I know. And that's what I love about you, because with that cast, with that material and the timing and the energy around it, it was already impossible. I mean, Encores is hard to get tickets for anyway, because they are these star-studded, glorious productions. And anyone who loves musical theater is like gobbling up the tickets, plus subscribers, all of the things, and they're expensive and they're limited runs. So for something like that, I was there at the gala night of Parade and I saw Jenny Gersten and I was like, with a wink, she was like, it's certainly, I would love for it to have a life afterwards. And alas, it has. I want to talk about, I mean, you are so wonderful in the show, and also have this added exciting thing of getting to be in the show every night. Ben Platt is your scene partner on the nights that he's playing Leo Frank. And then also knowing that at any moment, either predetermined because Beanie Feldstein got married and you knew those dates,
Yeah.
or he's a human being and you never know when it's going to happen. There has been so much conversation about how we must honor and support people who cover parts, especially post-COVID. When we came back, it went from producers sort of like, don't tell anyone you're going on, which is how it was when I started out. It was like, don't let anyone know an understudy is in the show tonight. To now, there's this whole underground sort of movement of people who only want to go see a show when someone is covering the role. Like people not only understand, oh, we are seeing the next Ben Platt, as it were, or whoever we admire and has kind of taken the mantle. And also there's nothing more thrilling than the energy of in an audience and from the other cast members in a show when their beloved cover comes on and does the part. So I want to talk to you about how it has been. This is a really, I don't care if you were doing this in like a high school production, as Alfred said, or on Broadway. The part of Leo Frank is one of the most magnificent roles that any actor can play. And you get to step into that role many times and observe it on the other night. So
Yeah.
can you talk about the first time you went on?
Sure.
What was that like? Did you have rehearsal beyond your stage manager and other covers playing the other parts, and kind of talk us through that night?
Yeah. So that night, it's wild to see a date on a calendar and know that it's happening for quite some time. But I was blessed with a wonderful infrastructure that has come from our stage management team. Justin Scribner is incredible. And they really allowed time for me to investigate the scenes as an actor would, not just stand here, be in your light. And then Michaela herself wanted to rehearse with me. So we had an hour and a half to step through all of our material, and that just set me up for success when I arrived on Friday. It was familiar to me, and I could really show up and live in Leo, as opposed to just have this kind of panic that I'm in the, hopefully I'm in the right place at the right time. And everyone I've ever known, ever, and my whole family came.
Well, that's the beauty of knowing.
Right.
date,
So
yeah.
it was an electrifying audience. And yeah, for me, I've understudied in every show I've done. I understudied in Bright Star, I understudied George in Sunday in the Park, but I've never got to go on. So there was this kind of duality of getting to take Leo's journey, but also experiencing it as an actor, and singing a song like "This Is Not Over Yet," and saying to an audience, saying to casting directors in the city that haven't quite given me my chance, like I'm here, I can do this, and to receive everything back was really just an incredible moment, and I feel very lucky to have had the chance to do it.
And there's lots of YouTube and TikTok and a million little clips of it, especially the curtain call, which is so moving and beautiful. I want to talk a little bit about, this play is incredibly emotional and painful. And also there are great moments of levity and joy throughout the script. And Alfred, you're so fantastic at sort of knowing when an audience like needs a break for a moment from the heaviness of something. And you and Jason really kind of curated the show in terms of the placement of the songs and the acting scenes, where we can catch our breath a little bit, because when you know how a story ends, because it's a real story, which is why we're all sort of addicted to this true crime moment in our culture. You know the ending, and yet the unraveling of how it happened, even if you've read it on paper, you are so deeply, you're at the edge of your seat. And I realized when we got to, like, I haven't taken a breath, and it's intense and painful.
We were shaped by three wonderful directors, each of whom shaped it for us. I mean, we brought the material. I had the idea, but it was flat. It was on a piece of paper.
Right.
And each time the directors brought it alive, and we learned each time things we could do and ways we could make it better. And even this time, after the run at City Center, there was a lot of things that I realized I could do. And Michael Art was very good at like making me feel good about doing it.
Yeah.
And I have to credit all the lovely things you say about the show. A lot of it goes to three good directors who pushed it. I mean, the love story was really brought out the first time by Harold Prince, who loved the African Queen. And he said, Lucille is very much like that Catherine Hepburn character who is a little inhibited, but circumstances make her come out.
Enough days on the ship.
Yeah,
Yeah, the survivalist in her.
and
Yeah.
he kept talking about Eleanor Roosevelt, rose to the occasion. And sure, all that was inherited there, but he pushed me. And each time, each director is like pushed it, carried it forward, and I'm extraordinarily lucky.
I want to ask, and I don't know if you ever, you know, there are a lot of rules about at what time you can be backstage and that the actors have to have enough time at half hour to prepare and no notes after a certain time. But how has the cast, the company, the creatives, the family of Parade found ways backstage to find levity and humor and fun so that their entire day is not already focused at what happens at the end of this story? Are there any things that you can share with us, rituals that are just silly and fun,
Sure.
that keep you guys buoyant?
Yeah. Yeah. So we were really blessed on this process to have someone in the room to help us with that. We had a sensitivity specialist. Her name is Ann James, and she was able to help us unpack the themes of the show and to also give us the tools to what she calls de-roll, to step out of those emotional planes. And so we ended a lot of rehearsals with just big dance parties, just so that we weren't carrying out the kind of heavy energy as we left for the day. So we had a lot of that built in. And I think each of us have kind of taken from her toolkit and found the things that work for us. Being able to step off the stage and shake it off. But we have, into the run now, we have some fun rituals where we can't play like hits from the radio, but we're having a dance party during This Is Not Over Yet because, it's a thrilling song, and just hearing that kind of audience response helps us step back into the reality that it is a play, and we do have the ability to step in and step out. Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, just all of the new, we were talking before we started recording about the number of people who want to be a part of the theater, right? And at a certain point, it's saturated. Like there are only so many parts that can be filled. And the idea that there are now these other people, sensitivity coaches, as you just, we're talking about Anne, is that?
And
Right, and like people who come in to help choreograph and
Intimacy
make sure
stuff,
there's
yeah.
intimacy coaches and just the ways in which there are so many ways to work in the theater beyond just getting to go out and, perform, which is glorious, but also there's so many people who can't sing but want to be a part of the theater and are like, where's my place? And I feel like if you have empathy and an interest in storytelling and being a part of a narrative that is hopefully working to create a community of other people who come together and find empathy and I don't know, I just love all of these new jobs that exist in the theater world.
Laura Linney, who's a friend of mine, was doing an interview that I read, and somebody asked her what her religion was, and she said, the theater. And I thought, oh yeah, that's true for all of us. It is my religion. I mean, I learn, I grow, I watch, I change, I get embarrassed, I feel. And to see a production like this, I've never been a part of a show that's this remarkable, this loved and petted.
I haven't either. Yeah.
And I think a lot of that's Justin, but I don't know, because I'm not there every night, but I feel it. But it is for people who love it, like you love it, and I love it. It is kind of a religion, which keeps us going.
Well, right now, there's only a few more weeks left to see Parade in this version on Broadway. But as you said, it will continue to be done forever. I assume it's often done in the South, and that must be incredible, or I hope that it will be, so that more people who lived it can kind of understand more the history of where they come from.
Well, it's been done in Atlanta with Pickett's and a crazy woman who says she's married Fagut's niece and wears her hair with the corkscrew curls and comes around. So it's a little spooky, but I know the schools do it in the South.
Yeah. I know Justin, our stage manager, told me that the MTI, who has the rights for the show, asked for our version to be able to offer it to folks.
Well, I said.
And you said that was okay?
No, I said, I don't want to do it anymore unless we can put this in. So that's cool. It's all in it.
Great.
Well, this is it. And what a glorious thing for something, as we said, like it's like a cat. It just has many, many lives, this show. It's not just important, it's a glorious time in the theater. Like it really is one of the most uniquely special productions I've ever seen. And Max, I am just so happy that you have gotten to do it so many times now. And also you are one of the rare people who have been able to experience it from a lot of different aspects of the storytelling.
Yeah.
My last question for you is on the nights that you are going on as Leo and you are working with the actor playing Mr. Turner.
Mhm.
And is that like are you like, wait, did I say that? Is he saying what, like, do you ever go like, wait, who am I?
Well, it's interesting because I only hear these lines as I speak them. So an experience I had while I was playing Leo was, oh, that's an interesting way to say that.
But let
And I'm like trying to bank that in my memory, but I'm also trying to be incredibly present
Sure.
as Leo. So it's sweet, but it's been Tanner, one of our sweet swings, which is just great to see him shine
Yeah.
in that role too and see how his take on it.
Yeah. Well, congratulations to everyone involved in Parade. Alfred and Max, thank you for this rain date and doing this with me anyway. I'm so honored to have you on. And thank you to Ryan Park and all of you guys for like so quickly pulling this together for us. And Parade is on until when?
3 more weeks, huh?
3 more weeks. We run through August 6th. Yeah.
Okay, but the cast recording is just absolutely stunning. So it can live in our cars and in our ears and everywhere we go.
Yeah.
For the rest of our lives,
Oh,
with
yeah.
all of your beautiful voices on it. And Alfred, my old dear friend, it is just amazing to have reunited with you so often this year. Pretty awesome. All right, well, that's it. Thanks for listening, and until next time. All right, we did it, you guys.
Yay.
Thank you, Chip.
You turn this on and go.
Yeah.
Right, I'm turning you on. Beep, beep, you're off now.
Great.
It's all,
Fuck all of you.
yeah. Fuck Parade.
Right.
What? Don't rain on my parade. It did. This was amazing.
Yeah,
Thank you.
of course.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure,
Thank you
of
guys
course.
for bringing them.
You guys for being flexible.
Of course. Listen.
Thank you for.
But now it's not raining, or at least it's not like it's raining
I
anymore.
don't think it is.
I think it's not. We still have some thunderstorms in the vicinity though, so it's lightning, so be careful.
Gotcha.
Wonderful.
Okay.
So interesting. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much.
Meeting.
Thank you, Alana.
Thank you.
Oh my God, thank you. I'll let you know when it's, assuming it's not all air conditioning, we'll publish.
And thanks for sending me this one.
Yeah. You'll be happy. Bye.
It's so nice to meet you.
Max, I'm so
Yeah.
happy to meet you.
Yeah,
Have the
likewise.
most amazing trip.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye.
Okay.